Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. Your personal information could be compromised. It's never the message you want to get, but tonight, Wegmans customers could be dealing with just that. Big Fox's Matt Kleindens has details on the supermarket's data breach.
Good evening, Ann. A previously undiscovered configuration issue led to two of its cloud databases to be left open for outside access, potentially compromising some customer data. In a statement released by Wegmans, a data breach was brought to the company's attention back in April. The breach may have exposed customer information such as names, home and email addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, and shoppers' club numbers and passwords for Wegmans online accounts. Social security numbers were not exposed since Wegmans does not collect that information. Credit card and banking information were also safe from the breach. All affected Wegmans online account passwords were hashed, meaning that password characters were not contained in the company database. As a precaution, however, the company is asking all customers to change their passwords for their online account as well as other accounts with the same password. Wegmans says they have since corrected the issue. Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Watkins Glen police say a man was found dead at the South Seneca Marina after suffering a medical emergency yesterday evening. Police were called to the area around 4:30 and recovered the man's body from under the dock. The victim's name has not been released. Anyone with information is asked to call the Watkins Glen Police Department. The Southern Tier has an interesting connection with yesterday's summit between President Biden and Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden presented the Russian president with a crystal sculpture of an American bison made by Steuben Glass in Corning. According to the company, every U.S. president since Harry Truman has gifted Steuben Glass pieces to world leaders. The bison sculpture is 9.5 by 6 inches and is worth $3,200. Delta, a COVID-19 variant of concern. Experts worry more and more new cases will soon be that version of the virus. And as Britt Conway reports, there's one part of the country they are particularly worried about.
This is like COVID on steroids.
Delta, the COVID-19 variant that devastated India. It's the dominant variant in the UK. And now there's the fear Delta could become dominant right here at home. There's one part of the country these health experts are especially worried about.
Especially in the south.
In the southeast.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
If you have been vaccinated, you've got very little to worry about.
But they're looking at areas where there's been a lag in vaccinations. That's in light green. And where unvaccinated people gather, new cases could follow.
You'll see these in amusement parks and we'll see them in churches and we'll see them at weddings.
And if last year is any indication,
if you remember, this time last year, we saw this massive surge across the South, starting around after July 4th holiday.
This 4th of July, the president set a goal of having 70% of all Americans at least partially vaccinated.
Maybe it'll be 68, maybe it'll be a little bit more. But the real danger is that 68 or 70% will look much higher in some parts of the country and much lower in other parts of the country.
We're facing the prospect of two COVID nations where things will look great in the Northeast and California, but down here in the South, it's going to be a very rocky, bumpy road.
Unless more people get vaccinated. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Several major rulings by the U.S. Supreme Court today. Madeline Rivera in Washington with what the justices had to say on the fate of Obamacare and more.
The Affordable Care Act surviving a third major challenge in the Supreme Court. Justices ruling 7-2 to reject a challenge by a group of conservative states arguing a recent change to the law made it unconstitutional.
I think the longer the law went on, the more it became entrenched in the healthcare system, the more that probably became a consideration for the court.
The act known as Obamacare became law in 2010 and expanded coverage to some 23 million Americans. It initially required people to either buy health insurance or pay a penalty, a provision Congress rendered irrelevant in 2017 when it reduced the penalty to zero. Plaintiffs argue the elimination of the penalty made the entire law invalid.
The question was, did severability apply? That is to say, did the rest of the law stand even if that part of the law was no longer being enforced? And the court held 7-2 that that was the case.
In their ruling, the majority wrote, to have standing, a plaintiff must allege personal injury fairly traceable to the defendant's allegedly unlawful conduct and likely to be redressed by the requested relief. They added, no plaintiff has shown such an injury fairly traceable to the allegedly unlawful conduct challenged here.
Right now, the focus needs to be on getting costs down, on making choice available to more and more Americans while we protect those with pre-existing conditions. And we can do all those things.
The court also delivered a big decision on a religious freedom case, ruling the city of Philadelphia was wrong to limit referrals to a Catholic foster care program because of the church's stance on same-sex marriages. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
Add Wisconsin to the list of states attempting to pass laws to ban transgender students from playing women's sports. The Republican-controlled assembly passed legislation Wednesday that supporters say ensures fair competition for female athletes. But Governor Tony Evers said it's a form of discrimination and is threatening a veto. Matt Smith reports from the state capitol in Madison.
So I have to say that just first and foremost,
a growing nationwide debate playing out Wednesday night at the Capitol.
It's not a difficult concept, Mr. Speaker, equal protection under the law.
Those who vote yes to support these bills, I firmly believe, should be ashamed of themselves.
The Wisconsin bills, mirroring others being introduced by Republicans nationwide, would ban transgender students from participating in girls' and women's sports, both in public and private K-12 schools and at UW campuses and technical colleges. The bill's author, Representative Barbara Dietrich.
It's rather disingenuous to falsely accuse others of hate and marginalization when you spew it yourself.
The legislation, though, won't go far. Governor Tony Evers has all but promised a veto.
He can say today he's going to veto it, but I hope there's the public outcry that we have been hearing with people saying we want to make sure that, especially under Title IX, women have a right to competitive sports.
The Pentagon is continuing to withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan, but now the Taliban is moving in to reassert its control. U.S. Central Command reports more than half of American troops have already been pulled out of Afghanistan. This comes as the Taliban is said to be slowly gaining more control over several areas in the Middle Eastern country. Afghan government forces have reportedly abandoned or have been pushed out of a handful of district centers within the past week, and with at least 23 districts believed to have been taken over by Taliban troops since early May. Record heat and drought in the West leading to the enforcement of fireworks to help avoid sparking fires. Spencer Joseph reports.
This year, it's hot, it's dry, we're in a drought. These are just conditions that are just right for really bad things to happen.
By now, we all know the danger.
All it takes is one errant firework.
And you have no control of where that's going to go or where that's going to land.
Fires can be sparked and get out of control too easily in the state. So with more and more cities putting in strict firework restrictions.
As each day goes by, we're seeing more and more cities adding.
Law enforcement in Salt Lake and Utah counties say they're ready to enforce.
99.9% of the time, we're just going to go out there and tell you, hey, you can't do this. And most people are super cooperative with that.
We try not to be too heavy-handed on those things because we understand.
But if a fire were caused by a firework you set off, to start with, you'd face criminal charges.
A relatively minor criminal side of it, which could give them a record for, reckless burning or using fireworks where they're restricted.
Aside from the criminal charges, if you do light something on fire, especially in a restricted area, and these guys come out to respond, police say you're going to be on the line for the cost of the entire firefight.
You're responsible now for the cost of putting out the fire and then any damage that was caused.
They could be held liable for the full cost of the fire.
How much money it costs to bring out multiple fire engines, their time that they're spent putting out that fire, now whatever damage was caused.
You're talking millions of dollars.
Take last year's Traverse fire caused by fireworks. Lehigh's fire chief estimated the total cost at around $1 million. So the solution is simple. Just don't do it.
Watch them on TV, watch some old reruns of fireworks shows.
Go to a professional fireworks show where those things are controlled.
So be warned, with danger this high, law enforcement is ready.
All the regret in the world doesn't put that fire out after you illegally used those fireworks.
Just please, please, please be safe.
Still ahead tonight, the CDC continues to warn Americans about the coronavirus Delta variant, first identified in India, labeling it a variant of concern, meaning it may be more easily spread. More on a new analysis showing states where vaccinations are up and have COVID-19 cases going down.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Beautiful sunshine today, and temperatures were a little bit warmer than they were yesterday. In Elmira, reporting about 3 degrees warmer than yesterday. Watkins Glen around 4, Bath around 4 degrees warmer, and also in Corning. We are going to see our temperatures really warm up as we head into the weekend, and this comes ahead of another storm system that will bring the possibility of thunderstorms by the end of the day on Friday. But out ahead of it, warmer air will continue to stream to the north, resulting in temperatures that will be a little bit closer to normal. Our average high is around 80 degrees, and we are going to be close to that as we head into your Friday. Today, we didn't quite make it there, and the cool and dry air stuck around, but I don't think anyone's really complaining. So here's a look at your forecast for your Friday. Starting off with some sunshine, but then by noon, we're going to see those clouds increase. They will really start to stack up during the afternoon hours. Temperature readings around 78 degrees by noon, and then we're going to see a drop in our temperatures as our rain chances start to increase. There could be a few thunderstorms as well by the end of the day on Friday, and then high pressure builds in by Sunday. That will really dry things out, but we have another system that will come in from the west and is going to get the rain going again as we move into your Monday and Tuesday. But along with this next system, much cooler air will start to ride in. So our future radar is showing we're not going to see any rain for tonight, but clouds will increase early tomorrow morning, and then by noon I think the showers will be pressing from the west to the east. There could be some heavy rain as well in Geneva, as you can see right there, but it looks like shower activity from Hornell to Corning to Sayre, and then we start to dry out in the early evening, and then a few thunderstorms move in the late evening into the early morning hours on Saturday, and then a few more showers follow in the early morning hours, and it's going to be very spotty showers during the day on Saturday. But I'm expecting this activity to be ending in the evening hours on Saturday, and then we should see some sunshine by Sunday. Mainly clear conditions tonight, though. Lows will be around 49 degrees in Corning, 52 degrees in Perkinsville, and 53 degrees in Watkins Glen. Highs tomorrow, very close to normal, 78 degrees in Elmira, 77 in Corning, and 74 degrees in Bath. But again, we do have the possibility of showers and thunderstorms late in the day on Friday. Our chances of rain will linger into your Saturday, but it's going to be warmer. Highs around 82, 85 for Sunday, and then close to around 90 degrees on Monday. But that comes ahead of another system that will bring the possibility of rain back late Monday into Tuesday. And this system will drag cooler air into the Twin Tiers, and so highs will only be in the mid-70s on Tuesday and Wednesday.
The CDC continues to warn Americans about the Delta variant. It was first discovered in India, labeling it a variant of concern, meaning it may be more easily spread. Now new analysis shows states where vaccinations are up have COVID-19 cases that are down. Mandy Gaither has the latest in today's Health Minute.
Newly reported U.S. COVID-19 cases are dropping to some of the lowest levels of the pandemic. But U.S. health officials say the Delta variant now accounts for close to 10% of those cases.
It's one more reason, if you're still on the fence, to go ahead and get vaccinated.
The CDC continuing to warn Americans about the worrying variant, saying vaccination is key to slow the spread.
It appears to be about 60% more transmissible, more contagious, in other words, and especially so for younger people.
The link between vaccinations and COVID-19 transmission is getting clearer, exposing pockets of at-risk populations, but also a safer path forward. A CNN analysis found that states with more than half of their residents fully vaccinated tend to have lower than average case rates that are trending down, while states that have vaccinated less than half of their residents had higher average case rates.
The vaccines that we have do appear to be effective against the Delta variant, but you have to get both doses of the mRNA vaccines.
While the U.S. continues to get back to a pre-pandemic normal, health experts urge Americans not to become complacent.
My concern is that the pockets of the country that have low vaccination rates actually also don't have robust public health infrastructure. They're already scaling back testing and reporting on the number of new cases, which I think is a big mistake.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The former Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd will be sentenced next week. Floyd's murder sparked a racial reckoning in the U.S. and put the spotlight on two events: the Tulsa race massacre, where hundreds of black people were murdered by their white neighbors, and also the celebration of Juneteenth, commemorating the end of slavery. As Nadia Romero reports, there's a renewed push to figure out how to right the wrongs of slavery and the Tulsa race massacre.
Viola Fletcher is on a 100-year battle for justice. She was just 7 years old when she survived the Tulsa race massacre in 1921.
We could see people running and people laying on the ground, probably bleeding from being shot and killed, and smelled smoke with houses burning, and heard the noise of airplanes flying, and so it was quite disturbing.
Rumors spread that a black man had assaulted a white woman in an elevator. Although no evidence was found and the charges were later dropped, a white mob murdered hundreds of black Tulsa residents and looted and burned down their homes and businesses in an area called Greenwood or Black Wall Street.
And there were many reports to the effect that they planned to rage through the Negro settlement.
Educator and local historian Lincoln Cochran curated a series of exhibits for the Black Wall Street Alliance.
It wasn't taught for years in Oklahoma because people were ashamed. You know, this was the worst act of domestic terrorism in our country before the others that came.
Last month, Fletcher testified before a House Judiciary Subcommittee. With no arrest and no insurance policies paid out, she urged lawmakers for monetary reparations as a step towards justice.
We lost everything that day: our homes, our churches, our newspapers, our theaters, our lives.
But getting reparations faces steep challenges.
I think getting into trying to make cash payments to people, it divides the community on something that we really need to be united around.
Juneteenth, a day commemorating the emancipation of enslaved black Americans.
The bill is passed.
This week, Congress passed a bill making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Now it awaits the signature of President Biden. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm Nadia Romero.
There was yelling, pushing, a head blocking the view. It was a shove fest at Wednesday's photo op with Biden and Putin. Jeannie Mose sums up the chaotic side of the summit.
President Biden ditched his jacket at the summit.
The sun is hot.
It's not as hot as things got at the photo op.
Stop pushing!
Or even just getting into the photo op.
Right, left. I don't need to back up.
Security prevented some of the members of the pool from going in.
I need to get up with that camera though, guys. I'm in sound.
You couldn't even hear President Biden, and part of the time this photographer's big head was in the way.
Can he move? Because I can't get a shot of both of them. Can you move? Because we can't get a shot. Yeah, can you move?
That head reminded some of the Georgia Dome when it was about to be imploded, but then a bus pulled up and demolished the Weather Channel shot.
Come on, bus, get out of the way! Bus! Get out of the way, bus! Are you...
The head at the Biden-Putin photo op was just as immovable. President Biden himself seemed somewhat bemused, while President Putin looked bored and kept drumming his fingers.
They're just sitting, a few leaders sitting there looking at us like we're animals.
But when the photo op ended, the action really began.
I told you, go away, please. Go away, please.
Security physically lifted a still photographer.
Here, stand up, stand up, stand up.
Stop pushing!
Don't push me! Guys, there's a pool here! The pool reporter said she was pushed multiple times, nearly to the ground. We haven't seen shoving of this caliber since then President Trump pushed the Prime Minister of Montenegro to get to the front of a photo op. A shove that recently got the swapped heads treatment. May cooler heads prevail.
Let's go, let's go. Out.
Forget world peace. Just try to get through the photo op in one piece. Ginny Mose, CNN. New York.
Guys, there's a pool here.
Facebook has a new sheriff in town, and it's not here to socialize. The company introduced an artificial intelligence tool which will keep an eye on group fighting in its forums. Here's how it works. The AI detects contentious or unhealthy conversations in the group, and it will alert a group administrator who will then take action. The administrator could limit how frequent some group members can post comments and can determine how quickly comments can be made on individual posts. The biggest movie at the domestic box office is getting supersized for one night. David Daniel explains in our Hollywood Minute.
It's A Quiet Place double feature. Wednesday, June 23rd, select theaters will show the original A Quiet Place, immediately followed by the current box office champ, A Quiet Place Part 2. Fans will get both films, plus an introduction by writer, director, and star John Krasinski for the price of one standard movie ticket. Info at aquietplacemovie.com.
I guess they just liked my voice and what I did.
A lot of filmmakers like Cynthia Erivo's voice. She's currently playing Aretha Franklin in National Geographic's Genius Aretha, and now she's set to star in a remake of The Rose, about a self-destructive rock star dealing with professional and personal pressures. Bette Midler starred in the 1979 original, which received 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Actress.
1969 was a change of era in the black community.
The styles were changing.
Music was changing, and revolution was coming together.
Here's your latest look at Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. The music doc from Amir Questlove Thompson reveals never-before-seen footage of the Harlem Cultural Festival, a 6-week event featuring a host of stars and celebrating black history, culture, and fashion. Summer of Soul debuts July 2nd in theaters and on Hulu. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Who doesn't love a good customer service story? Well, a woman went to the New England Aquarium in Boston last week hoping to get in with an old gate ticket. And by old, we mean old. She got it back in 1983. The 38-year-old ticket said, "You have arrived too late to fully enjoy our facilities. This ticket is good for admission at any time in the future." Well, any time turned out to be in 2021. And even though the late gate tickets were discontinued about 25 years ago, the aquarium actually honored it. The ticket owner said her great aunt had actually given her 2 of the tickets, and she promised her she would try to use it. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great night.